Good morning, guys. Welcome to another video. Today I have a very much anticipated video for you. I apologize for the delay. I go watch my video that I posted previously, why I had such a long delay, but I think it's justified. So finally, let's get into it. How I got my Hermes bags, my story time, because my story time I think is pretty special. I am pretty sure they don't want me to know to tell you that. I don't know what's gonna happen next, but for my girls, for our online community, it is worth sharing this story. Can't get an appointment with them anyway, so I suppose I have nothing to lose. So let's back up when I started being interested in Hermes, because I was kind of early to the Hermes game. I wasn't a couple of years ago. No, it was like 2017, 2018. I already knew I wanted an Hermes bag, and it was super rare to find it out in the streets. It was like this infamous, Birkin. And I remember seeing one on someone in Paris. It was this black Birkin 25. Now I know that it was in Togo leather, and it was with gold hardware, and it was this stylish French young lady just walking down the streets of Paris. And at that moment I looked at a bag and I was like, oh my god, this is the coolest bag. And she had this, je ne sais quoi to her, and this bag, this open Birkin. She was just carrying it so casually, and I was like, I'm in love with this bag. I want this bag. There's something about it that was jeans and everything. It just has such a cool vibe to it. So I started to go to an Hermes store. And at the time I was already buying Chanel. Chanel was my first designer kind of handbag love, let's say. And then I decided that it's time to start hunting down the Hermes. I was completely, completely ignorant, I suppose, about the Hermes game, because nobody ever spoke about it before. It was kind of an enigma how to get an Hermes bag. And I remember there were no appointments at the time. I remember entering in the Hermes store in Faubourg Saint-Honoré in Paris. I was wearing my mini Chanel. I thought I was dressed pretty cute. And I was just like, hello, today I want to buy a Birkin. And they just looked at me like, I don't know anything in this world. I just remember that humiliating look of that sales associate. Anyway, that was my first attempt. Obviously, I was said just no, there's nothing. Bye bye. And then some time passed. To be frank with you, I couldn't afford it at the time. Anyway, some time passed, and then they introduced the online system, and I started to take appointments online. I remember I had a couple of appointments. It took me, I think, 15 times to get my first appointment, 15 attempts to take an appointment online to get my first appointment. And I remember going to that appointment. I still remember what I was wearing that day. Again, I thought I did everything right, but I was rejected. Then comes another appointment. And that was, I think, February, right before the news about that everything is just going, sideways. February comes, I come in, I was wearing my, I think it was a Gucci poncho, and I had this, I think, manager who was training the sales associates. So I had two sales associates with me because she was going through a training, and I could see that there's just something about the interaction that we're kind of vibing, if you can say so. And I remember she asked me what I want, and then she asked me what I want that is non-quota. I mentioned a her bag, but I mentioned that, it's too close to a Kelly, so I actually would prefer to get a Kelly. And then I started mentioning the colors. And when I mentioned the color pink, I saw there's something in her eyes that was like, boom. And then, the usual happens. She's like, okay, thank you. We're going to check the availability. Please wait. And then they go missing for the next 30 minutes. And she came back with a box. She did come back with a box. So my very first bag that I got, that I don't have anymore. And let me tell you why I don't have it anymore. Very soon, I will tell you that. Was Kelly, and 28, Epsom leather, in a pink confetti color, which the color, I have to admit, is pretty special. And I remember she opened it up. She took it out for me, and I was like, oh my god, this is just a pink massive bag. But then you don't say no at Hermes, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna take it, thank you so much. And then she was like, pink confetti, such a rare color, you're so lucky to get it. And I was like, okay, well, like, okay, so it was like, what color is more common? She was like, oh no, actually all colors are rare. And I was like, sure. So I got that bag. I remember paying with like multiple cards because I couldn't afford it, you know, fully at a time, but got a couple of Twillies as well. And so I left the boutique, and that was my first purchase. And I was supposed to travel in a couple of days because I heard the news about the whole thing getting started. So I took a plane. I wanted to visit my family. So I didn't open the box. That's where I'm getting. It was just sitting, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like take it and then open it with me in another country, like when I arrive, you know, whatever. So when I did open, I saw something on the back that I instantly was like, it's off. There's something off about it. And you know, when you go to those rooms in Hermes, those special rooms, a lot of times, by the way, they're like half dark and you don't see anything. Like, you don't see well. And so I open it in the bright daylight, and I'm like, there's something wrong with this bag. I was like advised to just ignore it, it's fine, whatever. And then, you know, the whole world stops and I'm stuck in one place and everything is closed. But I did take some pictures and I emailed the customer service, and I was like, the stitching is weird, and I will show you a picture. It's kind of like cracked. Is it normal? They were like, it's normal. I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna send anything about the other issue. And so a year and a half later, the bag is unused because where would you use it in those circumstances, right? I come back to Paris, like properly with my things, and I have this bag on my hands that is in the wrong color, in the wrong shape, because I don't like the 28. I feel like it's too big on me, and in the wrong leather, the Epsom leather, because it's just bulky. It like doesn't bend, it doesn't move. It's like it's bulky, you know, on your body, taking a huge proportion of your body. I didn't like the bag at all. But then there's also this thing that is just wrong. It's wrong. It shouldn't be there. I will show you a picture. I will try to insert a picture. So I go back to the boutique and I show this thing and I say, you know what? I believe you actually sold me a defective bag, because this is not supposed to be here. And I explained the situation. Obviously everything was closed. I couldn't like get it, you know, faster to France. They were actually understanding about it, about the fact that I couldn't come earlier to their boutique, but they were not understanding about that specific thing that was on the bag. And they started making accusations that I burned the bag. To what I was like, you know, you are expert, like leather experts. Aren't you the craft, like speak to your craftsmen people. You cannot burn the bag without anything going wrong, you know, the paint like peeling or burnt, or you would see marks of burning. Like, this is impossible. This was burned during the production stage. By the way, the bag still had all the stickers. It was clearly unworn, and I was like, look, the bag is unworn. You can see it's unworn, and there's absolutely no way that I can damage the bag without visible notice of the damage on the, you know, external surface of the leather. It was a very stressful and long appointment. By the way, I was taken to the 3rd floor where they usually, where you can submit like things for reparation. I was called a manager. The manager had to go and speak to their person who does the craftsmanship, I don't know, the leather expert, whatever. And then more than like 40 minutes, I think like an hour at that point had passed, and then this manager comes back without my bag. My bag is gone at that point. I just gave it to them and they never gave it back to me. And she was like, today you're getting a new bag. What do you want? You know, what do you like? What would you like? And at that moment, that sweet moment, I I realized because they up, I can get anything I want. She mentioned before she even asked, like she mentioned when she asked, before I even opened my mouth, mini Kellys are not available. It's like, okay, that's fine for me. And so I went like, you know, I just said, well, I would like a Birkin 25, and I gave her black, gold, and I think a Tuboreta. I don't remember at that point. She asked me about the hardware and the leather. I said I prefer Togo, and the hardware doesn't matter for me because I find both silver and palladium and gold that would work for me. Quite a bit later, she comes back with a box and she says to me, I think you're gonna like what I have here for you. Mind, at that moment, my only history purchase is a tiny scarf, 2 twillies, and I think a pair of sandals. At that time, basically, I had no purchase history. And you know, Birkin 25 was the most sought after bag. I know a mini Kelly went like crazy viral and popular a couple of years ago, but at that time, at that specific moment, I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below, but Birkin 25 was the go-to bag to go. You know, it was the one, the most sought after. And basically, she opens up a bag and there's a Birkin 25 in Togo leather, black, and palladium hardware. That beauty stole my heart instantly. And I was like, of course, I'm taking it, thank you. Not only did I get a new bag that day, and by the way, there's also a negative to it, but let me get to it. But I also had a little credit reimbursed because Kelly 28 was more expensive than a Birkin 25. So I got a couple of extra things, you know, like a belt and I don't remember actually. I think another pair of shoes, something like that. But on a positive note, I got my dream bag instantly, but on a negative note, I was out for another year because I just got another bag. And so, you know, on the system, kind of, even though I only got one bag in 2 years, it was kind of, you know, it was like a purchase. So I understood that my chances of getting another bag that same year, or in the calendar year at least, would be impossible. Anyway, that was how I got my Birkin 25. And I think it's a pretty scandalous story because, to be honest, from a house like Hermes, I think every customer expects like perfect goods. Defective items, and that kind of defective, I think, is unacceptable. And I don't want to say that I was lucky, because I don't think it's lucky actually to be sold a defective bag for that amount of money, you know, when it's supposed to be the best quality in the world. But this is an important lesson to remind ourselves of, is that regardless of how, you know, expensive something is, or regardless of how much the craftsmanship is valued, there's still this human or not human factor of you can be sold defective or you know, bad quality items anywhere. I was sold a defective item in Hermes. I was sold, it was a damaged or defective bag in Chanel, but they never admitted to it. And I was shy enough at a time, because it was my first ever designer bag, to do anything about it. Now I know I wouldn't buy that bag, or I would demand a replacement or a refund. At a time I was too shy to act on it. So I still have that. And I wish I had a defective pair of sneakers in Dior. I had them taken back. So basically what I'm trying to communicate is that it doesn't matter how they can try to impose that mentality on you that you're so lucky to get it, you know, you still are the end customer, you still are the customer, you still are paying money, you're buying from them, and you can demand the best quality basically. And you should check before you get it something, and you should check before you take it home. Anyway, that's the story of my first bag. Let's move to my second bag, and so far my last bag from Hermes, but I hope I'll get more, but I'm not sure after this video. So please support this video, like it, comment down below what you think, because of this I for sure might never get a bag again. So a couple of years go by, I think 1 or 2, I think 1 year and a half, something like this, and I can't get an appointment online for the longest time, and they don't still admit to it. I can't get an appointment, by the way, for the past like 3 years or 3.5 or 4 years, because once I was late to my appointment, even though I called them up and they said no worries, I was stuck in traffic, I was late to the appointment, I called them up, I said I can't make it on time, they said do not worry, we're gonna move you. But you know what, weirdly enough, it was my last appointment I could get online, and that was 3 or 4 years ago, I don't recall at this point. So at that time, couldn't get an appointment for like half a year. It was summer, I think it was August. I decided to go to the boutique. I take obviously my Birkin with me that I had used, by the way, a lot during that period of time. I love it. I still love this bag. Hopefully I will use it again very soon. But yeah, basically I go in the store. I go this time to Georges 5, which is yeah, like opposite Trocadero, if you know Paris. It's in the 8th, I think. And I queue at the opening. The boutique store opens, and I speak to the lady. And weirdly enough, you know, me being like, I'm sorry, I can't get an appointment. I've been trying really hard for like, you know, for this amount, for this period of time. And then she looks me up in the system and she was like, okay, let's, you know, and she assigns me with the leather person, with the leather associate. And I'm taken to a room. They ask what I want. At the time, I remember that chai color came out. So I said, look, I like Togo leather. I already have a Birkin in my collection. Now I would like a Kelly. 28 is too big for me. I'd like a Kelly 25 or a Birkin 25. I'm not going to say no, but I prefer to have a Kelly because I already have a Birkin. And I really like I mentioned, those colors. And I mentioned chai color. Chai color was like the color of the season. It was very rare as well. It was beautiful. And she just like 10 minutes later brings out exactly what I asked for. I asked for Togo leather, Kelly 25, chai color, and gold hardware, and she got me exactly what I've asked for. It was like the easiest, you know, appointment in the world. So I got super lucky. And you know, nothing much to say about that. This is how I got my last bag. Anyway, I asked the sales associate, if I could have her contact details for the future, if I could come back to her, and she said no. So you guys help me out. How do you get contact details of sales associates in Paris? Because every time I ask for their details, they say no. Maybe I'm not buying enough, but I think my collection of Hermes, you know, testifies to the opposite. Feel free to watch it, by the way. Anyway, that was my second bag that I got, and that's been a while. I think I haven't had an appointment for about 2 years at this point, and I can't get it because I live in Paris, and Paris, they claim, is by online appointment only. When I try to take an online appointment, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't give me an appointment, you know. And I went to boutiques so many times, and at this point I feel like it's humiliating to go there and just keep, you know, begging for that appointment. It's just, yeah. I honestly don't know how to approach it at this point, because I actually met a very nice lady on my last time I went shopping in Faubourg Saint-Honoré, and she gave me her personal number, and she said, feel free to text me when you want to come back in the boutique next time. And I texted her, and then she never replied. Like, what is wrong with people? You know, like, why would they say something like this? So help me out here, please. Let me know in the comments down below, how do you manage to get contact details of people in Paris? Is it that you have to make a crazy purchase, one crazy purchase, and then they would just be like, oh my god, I want to keep having commission from this customer, that they give you their personal details? Or how exactly does it work for you? Because nobody wants to give details to me, and I assure you I am polite enough in the store, and you know, friendly enough as well. Anyway, here's a story about how I got my Hermes bags. I hope it was entertaining to you. I don't think it's very useful, but I think it's definitely interesting and might get me cancelled for good in the Hermes house. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, click the notification bell, and I'll see you next week. Bye!